Halloween.
You forgot, by the way.
And no, you're right.
He was reminded by.
Well, I don't
Clearly,
dress up.
everybody else did.
Yeah, no, I don't dress up. I'm surprised you didn't dress up.
Well, it's in the other room. I did a team costume thing, but on a radio show, I like to be.
Yeah, Andrew's always into the.
I'm not always
the team building with other people in the building. He likes to be on everyone else's team.
Could you come in, please? Because you have to see this kid.
And if you're not on television, I just put it on our Instagram.
He's one of the most creative kids that I think I've ever met.
Yeah. He goes all out, too. It's not half.
Right. Come on in and show yourself to the public. Maybe get over there by Andrew, and we'll get you on microphone today.
Don't tell me he goes all in. He brought 0 chicken in this morning, I'll tell you.
What's up with that?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Keeler.
I think you should really send this to PepsiCo or whoever owns.
Well, the idea is they've got a bunch of washed-up comedians imitating him now. Why not me?
You're right.
Exactly.
Why not me?
I'm telling you should be pitching this to them.
He's pre-washed up.
You're washed up before you get a chance to wash up.
It's finger licking good.
I told
him that needs a little work.
All right, go back to the booth.
100%, man. 100% next time. Bring the chicken.
But see, that's the beautiful thing of the new Colonel Sanders is it doesn't have to sound like the original.
We have some money. We have the money that's been spent on this midterm. And do you know that the 22nd Congressional District, I believe, if I recall properly, is ranked the 7th most expensive congressional race in the United States.
No kidding.
It is the number 1 most expensive race in New York State. And more money has been spent on this race than has been spent on Guatemala in the last 10 years. I'm pretty sure. Not a lot
as
of money
much as
there.
the United County
Not as much. Actually, the clerk's race has actually spent a little more. I'll get you those numbers coming up. Today, of course, is Halloween. Yesterday was there was an Apple announcement yesterday with new products.
Yeah.
I'll get into that, and I have to tell you something. I'm excited about it. Also, yesterday there was a new release on the iPhone. You can now do group video chat on the iPhone.
Really?
And you can do up to 32 people.
What?
In one video chat. So, say you all had to get together and you were vying to become the next Colonel Sanders. You could actually get on with 31 other people and do
or all the NFL owners
and a video chat. Yes, or all the people being considered as a quarterback for Buffalo right now.
There are so many.
They're thinking about Joe Namath right now, bringing him out of an old AARP commercial because he might do better than Peterman.
Don't flirt with the idea of Brett Favre. He might even consider it.
Somebody, they got to do something. Hello, Colonel.
I can't believe it took him this long to do it. There are so many apps that have this already.
I
know. Do they?
You think that they would have cashed in on a group FaceTime before the app started coming out?
They want to do it the best.
But to be able to do it on a phone is a pretty big accomplishment. I would think, and I guess you kind of have to have a speedy internet in order to pull it off.
I got very defensive about that.
Well, at KFC, we got free Wi-Fi for you all. Okay.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Good. Just bring your 31 friends to KFC.
Let's see. And the one thing that came out of yesterday, there's two. The Mac Mini is a computer that starts at $799. No monitor, no keyboard, but it starts at $799. And this thing is unbelievably powerful. I never really used to be Mac Mini was kind of a little.
Yeah, it looked
thing
like
for a kid or something. It's tiny. It's small. It's like the size of a Russell Stover box or something. Not the big heart box, the little one. Yeah. It's small. And the other thing is the iPad is unbelievable.
I have never owned one, but maybe this is the time to do it.
This is the time where you would want to consider. The iPad is unbelievable.
What's different
offers. About it? It's the most powerful tablet you'll be able to get your hands on. I mean, it can do some crazy stuff. We'll get into it coming up. What else do I have here this morning? I'm going to talk to Tanya Powers on Halloween safety tips because today is the day. I talked to somebody last night, and they're like, I have been waiting here for over an hour, and we have not gotten one trick-or-treater. But it's tomorrow night. Are you kidding me?
No way.
Tomorrow night. Today's the 30th. No wonder. Okay.
She just wanted an excuse to eat all the candy, let's be honest.
Wow.
Well, nobody showed up.
No one. This is the first year since I've lived here that no one has shown up. It's the weirdest thing. I had my light on. Little lit pumpkin. No one showed up. By the way, you turn your clocks back 1 hour.
Oh, is that this weekend?
Sunday at 2 a.m. By the way, I explained to her, that's Saturday night, Sunday morning. Don't go doing it Monday morning by mistake.
You shouldn't do too much to her at once.
Before church, 2 a.m. before church. You'll be moving your clocks back 1 hour this week, which means it's going to be getting dark really, really early now.
Depressing. Coming
up on the in December, you'll have the shortest day of the year, just around the corner. Tanya Power is here to give us the update on what people should be looking at, and I'm interested for Halloween safety tips. I believe that in New York City, in Manhattan, major cities, the Halloween tips are probably a lot different than the tips that you get up here in upstate New York, or maybe in Mississippi or something like that, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. I think they are. Like here,
they are.
Here we have to protect all the overpasses. There's a group out there that will tonight they have a little orange pumpkin on the top of their cars, and they are placed at every overpass through the entire stretch of the New York State Thruway, because punks would get up there and take their pumpkins and throw them over the overpass as cars are going down, and it would kill people. So you probably don't have that in New York City.
No, I think it's safe to say that we don't have that.
Pumpkin patrol.
That is a very good point.
Tipping your cow over onto a pumpkin, something you wouldn't have in New York City. It's all a different world. So
this is true. There's not a lot of cow tipping in New York City. There's none that I have encountered.
Haven't seen any. No, we haven't seen any. Although there is that naked cowboy, which is a little weird.
Yes, people don't normally try and tip him over, though.
No, he's tough.
They just tip him.
At his age, they tip him, yeah.
Well, all right. Exactly. It's different kind of tipping.
What should we be aware of, Tanya, on this Halloween?
Well, of course, there's most of the safety tips are centered around kids, because most of the people doing the trick-or-treating are children. Of course, go with an adult if you're under the age, especially under the age of 12. And this is, by the way, from safekids.org. So this is not just, Tanya's tips for trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treat with an adult, especially if you're kids under 12. If they're older than that, they can, go out by themselves, but, they should probably stick together in a group, familiar areas, that kind of thing. Watch your costumes. Don't let them, especially if they're little kids, something that's too long or has a, train or like a princess dress or something like that they might get tripped on. Be careful of that. Drive really safely on Halloween, because, you've got kids that are maybe, not thinking about, hey, I need to cross the street at the intersection and be really careful here. They're probably thinking, oh, that's the house with the full candy bar instead of the little tiny ones.
That is, and not many of those houses have those full candy bars anymore.
I know. The economy, once it took a turn, it all was fun size after that.
I tried to do it. My wife was like, we are absolutely not doing that. And then she came home with these bite-sized things. There, I've done it. Well, all right.
That's
so
true,
Bill just gave 5 fun sizes to the kids.
That's right. You're getting a handful of these little Snickers bars.
That's true. But if you're the house that gives out the full-size Snickers, you only have to do it about 2 times, because then the word spreads down the sidewalk like lightning, and you're out of candy by 7:30.
And your lights are off, and now. It's funny because some communities have set times for trick or treating. Others, like I know the cities tend to be like trick or treating whenever. If the lights are on, you go. What are you used to? Like 6 to 8 is typical for some communities up here.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that makes sense, because a lot of the little kids will start trick or treating. I mean, parents will take little ones out, even like at in some places, and that's earlier than 6. So
that's true.
You just have to kind of exercise some some common sense, especially if you're the adult and you're in charge of taking around a group of kids, or a couple of them, making sure they don't run out in the street and things like that.
It's a big deal, yeah. And Tanya, if I recall, you're an Apple person, right?
Yes.
Did you watch any of yesterday?
I did not get to watch anything of yesterday. I was covering some other stuff yesterday. But
let me tell you, that iPad looks like it is certainly the greatest iPad ever. It has a terabyte of storage. You're going to be able to you'll be able to plug your camera or devices. It has a USB-C, 2 USB-C connectors. Now, up to this point, you had to wirelessly put stuff onto your iPad. But now you can hook your camera up to it. You can edit video on this thing. It is the most powerful iPad ever put out. I'm really excited about it.
The terabyte is a huge deal.
Yeah, it is. And it's only $80,000.
Well, let's see, and we'll get two of them.
Yeah, we'll get a couple.
In 6 easy payments of?
Yeah, I have to tell you, it is, you got to check it out. It's really a doozy of an iPad this time. So
yeah, I want to go back through and head to YouTube and watch the entire shebang.
It is. It's worth watching. Yeah. All right. Cool. Very cool. Tanya Powers, we appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
Anytime.
All right. We'll also talk to Ed Welch from AAA on some safety tips for around here. It is different around here than it is in other places in the country and in major cities and that sort of thing. Obviously, if there's a big orange pumpkin, paper orange pumpkin on the door, that was I almost feel like it was an experiment they were doing a couple of years ago. So that is, we're asking voluntarily for all pedophiles, convicted sex offenders, registered sex offenders, just for courtesy purposes, could you please put a giant orange pumpkin on your front door? Why not put a bullseye up there?
Yeah.
Right? Who would want to do that? And I guess some did. I guess some of the pedophiliacs were there with their big orange pumpkin. But if I were a pedophile, thank the Lord I'm not. I don't think that I would want to have that pumpkin on my door.
And think about it. The possibility of pranksters just going to random houses and slapping orange pumpkins on the door is a real possibility.
It is true.
The next morning you wake up and there's a pumpkin on your door, like, oh, my God.
The other thing is there are apps that you can download for free that will you'll be walking through your neighborhood, and it'll show you which houses are home to pedophiles. And the rule
it's more than pedophiles, too. It's sex offenders, rapists,
right.
Yeah.
Rapists, pedophiles, danger.
Registered sex offenders, yes.
So with that said, you might want to get that app. But I'm even nervous. At this day and age, I don't know, even 12 years old, you've got a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old daughter, I don't think she'd be going out on her own. Even boys today.
Yeah, I
think you got to kind of go out with your kids a little bit.
How old were your kids when you let them go alone?
30. We've been really a little overprotective.
Well, Carter's going out tonight by himself. So.
I just listen. There was a story about
some candy, kid.
A woman who was raped and murdered. She took an Uber home. She's in her 30s, so you just have to be careful today, right?
I'm sorry. What happened?
It's a story from a few weeks back, but
you said she got murdered, and then she took an
think
Uber?
of the person that's she took an Uber, and the Uber driver was a killer.
Okay.
Oh,
you got to check those ratings. Anyway, just be careful out there, and if you're driving, you got to be careful tonight on a couple of different fronts. Number one is there's certainly the possibility that you're going to come across kids and trick or treaters. The other thing is I like to stay in on Halloween night because you never know what punks are out there and throwing things at your car and stuff. So keep your car in. If you have a garage, good time to put it in the garage.
Yeah.
That's today. Also this morning is our free money question of the day from Hobica. We're going to get into the one, you had a debate last night, and this is really worth getting into, between Bova and Buttonshaw. Will you reveal who you feel won the debate last night? You should. I think you should. But do you feel there was a clear winner?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
You want me to say it right now?
No.
He's not going to break.
But
He's not going to break.
You will say whether it was Bova or Buttonshaw. We'll do that when we come back.
Okay.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. I think we should. Who you think won? It's funny with these debates, the campaigns always put out an email, each claiming victory right off the bat. So if you paid no attention and you got that email, that person wins. And the other side, the same thing. But Jeff was actually one of the people on the panel asking questions. So a new Halloween song we'll get into that kind of picks at the current race, and it's not just the congressional race; it's everything going on right now. It's really been one of the craziest races we have ever seen. There's some movie filming going on in Utica. Buffalo Bills Mark Kelso what in the hell is going on? Now Anderson is injured, so you have two quarterbacks out, and they're considering, I don't know what else they're going to do. Who else do you start? If Anderson's not ready and Josh Allen isn't able, you got to start Peterman, and that's what it's looking like right now. And how about Kyle Lauletta, who is the highly touted backup quarterback for the New York Giants? Did you see what happened to him?
Yeah.
Arrested. And speaking of punk, what's this guy thinking? And we'll get into it coming up here. So 6:32. Andrew does. We'll do that right after because it's a crazy story of almost seems like a crazy story of privilege, right?
Could be.
How dare you stop me? I am the backup quarterback for the New York Giants.
Oh.
Rachel's standing by right now. We're having, it looks like what looks to be a bit of a heat wave. I'm not sure we can go that far. But
well, there was frost on my car this morning.
Going to warm up after it cools off today. Rachel Witter, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, our next storm system actually brings up temperatures into the upper 50s today, and it's also going to bring up our rain chances. So the storm system that's going to warm us up shifts our wind direction. That's going to up us into the upper 50s by this afternoon, and it's going to keep us well above freezing overnight. We're talking like mid-40s to 50 degrees will be our overnight low temperature. So our temperatures don't really go too far from the afternoon high over the next few days. Unfortunately, rain chances don't really go anywhere either. So we have those in there today, tomorrow, even into Friday before we finally dry things out this weekend.
And it really does look on the way out, 40s and 50s for the foreseeable future anyway, right?
Yeah, and that's pretty normal this time of year. Our average high is right around 50, and then it only continues to drop. And don't forget to turn your clocks back an hour on Sunday so we get the extra hour of sleep. That time of year again.
As I always remind people, you have that little rhyme to help you remember, fall forward, spring backwards. That's the way I remember anyway.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, good for everybody to remember that way. Maybe not. Okay, Rachel, good stuff. And by the way, Rachel, can we talk at all about any of the stuff that you are doing right now on the side during the daytime?
Yeah.
Because you landed, I don't know if you know this, but in the next time you land at the school you were at a couple of days ago, you might want to look up my wife. I got a text from my wife. She's like, you're not going to believe it, but Rachel's subbing in first grade in my school today.
Oh.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
How about that? Pretty cool.
Yeah, I do that 3 to 5 days a week. Not today. But.
All she does is teach weather, though. And the kids, darn it, they love it. I got to tell you, having you show up as a sub, if I were a student, I'd be like, this is the coolest thing. We've got the weather lady coming in. So
I like to think that I'm cool, but I have to lay down the law sometimes too.
I'm sure you do, and that's the only way to do it. So
what does
good
that
for
sound
you.
like?
It's like a storm
in that closet.
That's right.
It's like a storm on your life.
All right, Rachel.
It's not just weather all the time. I'm multifaceted.
Very, very. I'm sure you are incredibly brilliant. So in many different regards. So all right, Rachel. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Before we get to Fox Business, I want to check in with John Decker with an update. The president went to Pittsburgh. It was somewhat controversial. There were protests. There were those that did not want him to show up. The rabbi from the synagogue that was targeted was very open to the president. John Decker, to fill us in on what happened yesterday and the controversy surrounding it. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, I was with the president. I traveled out to Pittsburgh on Air Force One with the president, and it was a somber day. The president called it very humbling and very sad. The president immediately with the First Lady went to the synagogue where this mass shooting took place on Saturday, paid his respects to the 11 victims of that mass shooting at the synagogue. He lit candles in the synagogue's vestibule, but he didn't go into the sanctuary itself, which is still considered a crime scene. Then we motorcaded from the synagogue to a local hospital there. The president met with the widow, one of the victims who died on Saturday, and also spent time at that hospital with police wounded while responding to Saturday's attack. You mentioned sort of the controversy. There were no local officials. One congressman accompanied the president, a local congressman accompanied the president, but the mayor of Pittsburgh was not there, and there were a number of signs, Bill, critical of the president that we noticed while coming in from the airport.
The mayor, mostly Democrats that would not be seen with the president at scene, but there were a couple of Republicans. And this has everything to do with what your district is like with this upcoming midterm next week.
Well, it's that. It's also, look, this trip was put together very quickly.
Yeah,
and we are a week out from the midterm, so a number of members of Congress, including a Republican senator from Pennsylvania, could not attend because they, quite frankly, had other plans that they already put in place. And in addition to that, the president invited some leaders of Congress, but again, they had other commitments. So the president really responding to what he felt was the need to go to Pittsburgh quickly. That's what he did. And as you said, he was greeted at the scene by the congregation's rabbi and also Ron Dermer, who's the Israeli ambassador to the U.S.
I can't imagine what the people of Pittsburgh are going through, and those in that Jewish community as well. But really, a very somber scene. It's the only way to describe it. So,
yeah, that's exactly right. You just got that sense as we were driving up to the synagogue, and it's just so sad. You see it on television, but to see it in person, the memorial that's been set up outside the synagogue, it's just a very sad sight, and it's sad that in our country people are murdered for being who they are, just for being Jewish, and it's hopefully what we see with the response from the president can bring some unity together in the country, but it's kind of difficult. We're a week out from the midterms, and there is a lot of division.
John Decker, as always, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Bill. Have a great day.
You too. Manaski was on the panel at the Oneida County Historical Society for a debate between Dennis Bova and Marianne Buttonshawn. What questions did you ask, and were they relevant?
I thought they were. Maybe they weren't. Although I did get. I'll tell you, I got.
What
laughed
is your
at.
favorite color?
You got laughed at?
I got laughed at. My last question. It was moderated by our buddy from UC, Luke Perry, and he said last question, and it was my turn. So I turned to my co-panelist and said, "You can take it if you want." And she said, "No, go ahead." So I said, "All right. Well, this is a much lighter thing, but I said, and actually, where it comes from is what they've done in California, and I believe is it Washington State, and it was something that." Chris Salatino brought up about the plastic bag ban, and I just said if it comes up, do you have a position on the banning of straws and plastic bags?
Sure.
And Bova kind of laughed. He looks at me and he goes, no one has said that. I haven't heard anybody talking about that. I've knocked on a lot of doors. Nobody has said that to me at all. And I'm like, okay, the floor is yours.
At least we know where you stand on plastic straws. Okay.
So he didn't answer the question?
No, he went into I guess not.
Who won the debate?
Okay, so I felt like Marianne Buttonshawn had a lot more answers, had a lot more positions on issues, the things that were asked and talked about at the debate last night. Many times, Mr. Bova would say things like, "Well, we got to talk to the folks. We got to talk to the folks and see what they want to do and how they feel about it, and we'll get some ideas." I mean, on things like equitable funding. He's talking about we have to talk to the teachers and see what it is they want to do.
No, you don't. That has nothing to do with it.
He did have a position on term limits.
That's what school boards are for. They're there to provide. You really need to talk to administrators. They would be the ones that would know what schools need. And the problem is, it's those unfunded. Don't get me started on this. I'll go off on this topic.
I do feel like both. I shouldn't say I feel like both candidates said. For the downtown casino proposed, would they support it, et cetera, that they didn't feel the area was ready for that in downtown Utica yet. On the downtown hospital, Mr. Bova continues to say that he is fighting against it. He actually talked last night about the $300 million that's been allocated for the project. He believes the population center, you could make the argument that it is at the current location at St. Luke's, and that if the hospital location moves from downtown, that the area could still get the funding. He said he's read the legislation, and he feels that he can make a case that the area still should get the money if the hospital goes someplace other than downtown.
That's awesome. I'm so excited that a minority member of the assembly is going to be able to go in there and change the entire process if elected. I'm excited. I'm now voting for him. It's not in my district? Oh, sorry.
Mrs. Buttonshot on that same issue basically explained that she would be supportive. Supportive if it was downtown or if it went somewhere else, she would be supportive.
She just wants a new hospital. In general.
One thing on term limits, where Dennis Bova had kind of a different answer than what I've heard from before. He actually said that he would be in favor of extending the term and then limiting it to 2 terms. So instead of being 2 years in office, he made a point about you get there, you're there for 10 months, and then it's already time to start campaigning again and raising money. So he said instead of 2-year terms, it would be a 4-year term, but it would be capped at 2 terms. I thought that was kind of a different answer that I hadn't heard much of before. Both felt like marijuana legalization is coming, but the state isn't necessarily ready for it. So I just felt like a lot of the topics that came up, Mr. Bova said, well, we got to take a look at it. We'll talk to the people. We'll see what they want to do.
And Buttonshot had answers.
She had, I thought her answers were more more appropriate.
All right. And then were there any attacks during this debate?
So thank you, because I forgot that.
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget about attacks.
Mr. Bova.
I've been like, why is he waiting? Let's get to it.
Come on.
He opened the night by saying in opening statements, I want to thank, you for coming here. I want to thank everyone for coming here. And then he, kind of thanked Marianne Buttonshot and said, I appreciate that you've run a clean campaign. It hasn't been a dirty campaign. Everything's kind of been above board. And a couple of times during the debate, he made like a vague reference to, I'm just an average Joe. My father's not on the county ledge, and, my uncle doesn't. She must have an uncle who works for the Court of Jurors. I'm not going to say that right. So he referenced something about that a couple times. And then at the end, I thought really kind of
closing statement.
He went last.
She made a nice closing statement of your typical.
She didn't say anything like nice about that. She just here's what I want to do.
Yeah, your typical
support me. Thanks for And he got into this thing where he's like, I'm a hardworking guy. I go to work every day. I don't have relatives in politics who appoint me to positions. I don't have a father who's on the county board who appointed me to my position. I don't have. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Court of Deeds, whatever it is, whatever it is, and I thought it was kind of slammed her pretty hard, basically insinuating that she was given whatever professional accomplishments that she has. I just thought it was interesting, considering he opened by saying, "I just want to thank you for
clean campaign." Yeah. So was it a biting slam? Would you say?
I took no. I was ready to get out of there, and I made me stop and go, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, and he was ripping her.
Yeah, because it went a little. It was set for 90 minutes. It went a little bit longer. It probably went about closer to 2 hours, maybe like an hour and 50 minutes. But the League of Women Voters did a great job as always. It was co-sponsored by the NAACP, and I actually thought it was probably about 80 people there. I thought the people who submitted questions actually had some really good questions.
Would you say that? Well, I'll tell you this. 7:35 after a free money question. We've done a little digging in, and I have something that I think is pretty relevant to this race that I think is deceitful, and we'll let that go this morning after 7:35. I'm pretty excited about getting into it. Peter Franklin is a Gabby Cabby best tour in New York City. Get there, and he'll take you around. You can look at Gabby.com for details. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, live from the beautiful streets of New York.
You are upset with the New York Times over these. You feel
they're liars.
They're capital. Trying to
more blunt than that. Yeah. They were in a series of articles talking about how anti-Semitism is sweeping the city. I mean, if you're Jewish, you're in big trouble. Don't walk on the streets here because you're going to be molested by what, a Gentile?
No.
I mean, it's just absolutely a nonsense.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, several of the Jewish organizations, doesn't this sound like I'm being anti-Semitic, have seized upon the opportunity of Pittsburgh to raise funds, contribute to the Anti-Defamation League, contribute to the IS. Look, I'm around this city. I go to this city. I see people. I hear people. There's no anti-Semitism that's sweeping New York. We got 1.9 million Jewish people in New York. Take it from me. They're happy, okay?
I want to ask you about the package sent to De Niro's restaurant, Tribeca Grill.
Yeah, well, that was one of the bombs that went out. This has been the crazy month and all of that. And I just wanted to make the observation that every time they talk about the Tribeca Grill, they talk about the fact that he owns it. Well, first of all, he doesn't own it completely. He has an interest in it. But they always imply that he's there. And I just want to warn everybody that you have as much chance of seeing De Niro in my house as you have.
Chances aren't all that good.
Yeah, listen, Rodney Dangerfield has a place. Why don't you go there to see him? Not quite.
Yeah. And one more.
You go for the food. That's all.
Go for the food. How about the guy that was in the East Village, sitting motionless behind the wheel of his car, just sitting there for 4 days? Turns out nobody kind of saw him, right?
All that I know that if I park in the wrong spot in my yellow mobile conveyance lounge, which in about 8 seconds there's a traffic officer there to give me a ticket. This guy was dead. And they're trying to figure out now how many traffic agents walked by the car, him sitting behind the wheel.
Just didn't do anything.
Not even giving him a ticket or telling him to move it along, buddy, move it along.
4 days, and he was dead. Very sad.
Yeah, he was waiting in line to go to the Tribeca Grill.
Okay. Good stuff. It's Gabby.com. A short one this morning, Peter. We thank you. Happy Halloween. We'll talk again next week.
You got it, sweetheart. Bye-bye.
Ed Welch standing by right now from AAA. Ed, good morning.
Morning, Bill. How are you on this fine day?
I'm wonderful. It's Halloween, and hard to believe this fall is flying. The weather looks like it's going to be a little rainy, which can impede visibility, right? So people just need to be a little cautious tonight.
They do, and we look at this from two standpoints. Obviously, what motorists should do, then what parents and should do with their children. From the motorist standpoint. Sometimes, Bill, you cut across the neighborhood to get from one place to another because it's quicker. This would not be a good night to do that. Stay on the main roads, and obviously you want to drive very defensively. Kids running all over the place. They're excited. Want to slow down.
Yeah. I used to live in a neighborhood where you literally could not get down. There was a path for cars to get down the street. There's so many kids on the street. Those, I think those are the ones that kind of stand out to people, right? Because you clearly see it. It's those side streets where you don't expect to see a child, and all of a sudden they're there and you don't see them. It's just, you got to be cautious.
Exactly. And when we talk about slowing down, according to the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, the odds of getting killed at 35 miles an hour are twice what they are at 25 miles an hour.
Wow.
So even if you got a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, we all tend to drive a little fast at times. We're all guilty of that. This is a really good night to say, you know what, I'm going to go less than the speed limit. Obviously, keep both hands on the wheel, and absolutely just drive as defensively as possible if you have to drive.
What about you'll see there's a group out there that every year protects the bridges and underpasses, especially along the thruway.
Yes, and I'm awful glad they're out there. We've had some tragic events over the decades, and it's a great, obviously, public service. Takes a lot of people. And the thruway is about 630 miles across. So if you think of every bridge and overpass from basically the PA border outside of Buffalo all the way down to, basically down to Terrytown, that's a long ways.
Yeah, it is.
So it's really a good thing that it's being watched. People are paying attention to that. That's why I'm glad that group's out there. That's why locally, we do what we have to do.
Yeah.
1/3 of all motor vehicle accident deaths on Halloween is due to drinking and driving. So this was obviously a lot of parties, and maybe less so during the middle of the week like this. When it's on the weekend, it's a much bigger problem. But again, this is not a good night to go out and have a few cocktails and get behind the wheel. No night is a good night, but this night's not a good night for that.
And you never know when there's. I know we keep hearing all of these stories about. Although with rain, you don't expect to see the kids out there. It's going to be a little bit warmer, jumping in the leaves, and that's so you see a pile of leaves, and sometimes people find, I don't know why, but hey, let's drive through that pile of leaves. You never know when there's a kid under there, but ultimately...
That's right, and especially in the cities, you think like Utica, where you can put all the leaves out to the curb right now.
Yep.
Pretty every community is like that, I'm sure, but this is not a good night to be driving through leaves. It's not a good night anyways because you never know what's in that pile.
Right.
Somebody could have a cinder block in there for all you know.
Right. It could be a problem for your vehicle, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, very well could be.
Yeah.
For parents, just a couple of quick things, Bill. A lot of costumes don't have good visibility with masks. Face paint always works better. This way your kids have great visibility. Keep a flashlight with you. I mean, a lot of people use their phone. But, these LED flashlights, they can run for hours on literally no power. And if you've got it, most costumes are dark. Let's face it. Ghouls and monsters are not dressed very lightly. They're dressed very dark. So put a piece of 3M or tape on the back of the costume, or some type of reflective tape, just so the reflection of that can hit from the headlights can be seen better.
Again, be safe out there tonight. Kids will be trick-or-treating. And some communities, Ed, they have a set time. Others, it's just whenever the kids get out. The other thing is, don't we do something at the mall? The mall has a program.
We did it Saturday, though.
There are a lot of these programs where they're indoors, but you just got to be careful out today.
Exactly. It's a fun night. It's a lot of fun goes on today, as it should. And again, the whole purpose here is just everyone just slow down, recognize what's going on, and pay attention. I
want to ask you one quickie on listening to your what's Ed's what is it called? Auto Quip, right? Yes. Which is on. I have to tell you, I look forward to that every morning. I want you to know the work that you're putting into it. You come up with some really cool topics, and sometimes I grab your topics and we incorporate them in each morning. But
they're for your use at all times, Bill.
Awesome. But I want to say that were you talking about batteries this morning, and the fact that they do these electric vehicles, and they have these really incredible batteries that are in these vehicles that power the vehicles. And are you saying that at some point those types of batteries are going to replace the batteries that we grew up with?
Yeah, the next technology breakthrough is going to be what's called solid state batteries, and there are several companies working on them. And I personally believe Mr. Dyson wouldn't have got into the car business if he didn't have this kind of in the bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is the next breakthrough. Very few people know more about electric motors than Mr. Dyson does, but I think he's got battery technology up his sleeve that he's going to be putting out there. But the bottom line is faster charging times and less heat. As you know, you plug your phone in, you plug your laptop in, it gets hot.
Yeah.
Every device with a lithium battery gets hot. Car batteries are specially designed to mitigate that as much as possible, because obviously look how big they are. But the problem still exists, and that's the problem with charging them fast. If you try to push too much electricity into a lithium battery too fast, the thing will get hotter.
Right.
So the idea of solid-state battery is to be able to put more juice through it and decrease the charging times. So if you can fill up an electric battery, let's say, in the same time it takes to fill up your car someday,
right,
with gasoline, it becomes almost a no-brainer to have one.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And there's always the fear, your battery goes dead and you're jump starting your vehicle. There's always that fear that the spark on a battery like that, these old batteries, the ones we use today, the batteries can explode.
Well, there is a fear of that with current older hybrid cars with those kinds of batteries, especially if they're going to be worked on, or even if they go off the road into a ditch. There's a master switch to cut the power off from the battery. That is a very big concern of people who service cars out in the field.
All right, very interesting. And as always, Auto Talk on WIBX is on Saturday mornings here. So listen for Ed and Ed Welch. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and everybody be safe today. Thank you.
All right, we'll break it.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
I just wanted to mention, you mentioned Trick or Treat Street, and we did that this past weekend. Typically, we've done it on the actual Halloween itself, so we're not doing it this year. I would imagine they're still handing out some type of candy at the mall, certain stores. But for the most part, the children that we encountered on Saturday were very polite, very nice costumes. I have to tell myself not to get mad about, like, it's not my candy, okay? Nobody's taking my candy. But, like, parents will walk up when you're, like, handing a piece of candy to another child, and they'll just, like, I randomly pluck. I don't say, what would you like, a Skittles? Would you like this? It's not a buffet. It's not a. You get a piece of candy and you move on. Parents are like walking up. I like Snickers, and like just grabbing it. And I'm like, don't backhand anybody. Do not hit anybody, Jeff.
Did you backhand anyone?
No, I didn't. I wanted to. Yeah. It's so rude.
I have to tell you a story that I always tell this story about toy drives. So 10 years ago, we did our toy drive differently before I was even here, where we actually collected all the toys. I kept a bunch back, so when there was a family, they'd have called, and it was too late. So here we are on Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, and the parents would actually come, and we'd put toys together for them and give them out. So we waited after hours on December 23rd one year, because this family was in need, and the mom came and brought the kids up, got all the way up onto we were in the third floor, Jim Brock's building of all things, and the woman came in, and I'm telling you, I probably had $350, $400 worth of toys. We were giving this. She had 3 kids, and it might have even been $400 or $500. We had a ton of stuff we were giving because it was our last. That was it.
Yeah. So you're getting everything.
You don't have a PlayStation? I thought you had a PlayStation. That's why we came down here. Okay, I backhanded her. Okay, no, I didn't. I wanted to. Is that and that's the stuff you have to ignore. You cannot think about that stuff because it's not the kids' fault. Although they're being brought up by a piece of garbage, it's not the kids' fault. You can't focus on it. You can't focus on the fact that they're grabbing the Snickers. You just have to focus on the little ones that are polite and decent, which is most of them. Don't focus on
the kids were great. The kids were great, but I'll tell you, your story makes my who took a Snickers bar pale in comparison.
Well, you don't have a PlayStation? I came all the way up here, and you don't have a PlayStation? All right, get the freak out before I hit you over the head with this wagon you're getting. A wagon! Full-size red flyer, something.
Radio flyer.
Radio flyer wagon.
Official.
Like to put you on the wagon and push you out the window. But we were, you just bite your tongue and you're like, hey, have a wonderful holiday. Just focus on the positives. Focus on the positive. 7:23 at WIBX. This quarterback for the Giants, Kyle Lauletta, was arrested. It's more of a traffic thing, but
I think he's facing a felony.
Yeah, because he almost ran over a police officer. Apparently, there was a cop that was directing traffic. Now, do you have it this way? That he must have been in like the left lane. Okay. That's a 2-lane street, and he was making a right-hand turn, and he turned in front of the traffic in the right lane to make a right-hand turn, which you'd have to be in the right lane to make a right-hand turn.
So he basically cut off
and the cop tried to stop him, and he did it anyway, and almost hit the cop when the cop was trying to stop him. So, and almost hit another vehicle. And then it's saying that this is the second time this week that he has done the exact same thing. What are we, privileged? We get to do whatever we want? How dare you?
I back up Eli Manning for the Giants.
That's right. I'm the future of the Giants.
I actually think there could be something to that. We have a line who doesn't block anybody, and Eli might get killed out there. He's like, I'd rather go to jail. I don't want to be the quarterback of the Giants anymore.
Please arrest me. Even in practice, he's risking his life. It just feels like even the practice team is coming at him. So he's like, listen, I'm just preparing for what's going to happen to me anyway.
You said he tried it. You said he tried it the day before, too, the same maneuver. He's been trying it since week 4 on that same road.
That's funny. I want to tell you the money that is being spent in this congressional race is the most money in any of the congressional races in New York State.
Believe it.
The 22nd.
That includes Senate races, too, which are statewide.
I believe it's, the thing about the Senate races, which are statewide, you're right, but they're not competitive.
They're not.
Nobody, how much money are you going to put into Gillibrand and Schumer running too? You don't even know if he's running.
Actually, no, I don't even know.
If he is, I don't think he
I know
is.
he's been in the area doing these. I'm pushing for bipartisan legislation for things, which are very good things. But
I watched the debate the other night. Did anybody see the debate between, what's her name?
Shel Farley.
Shel Farley, the Republican, a.k.a. Michael Jackson. Did you see the debate? She had like jet black hair down
a red shirt.
Like Michael Jackson used to have. And with the lipstick and everything, I'm glancing by and I'm like, what is Michael Jackson debating?
They brought in a hologram Michael Jackson.
Gillibrand for. I'm completely baffled by it. But we're talking about a lot of money here, and the outside money especially. They're saying $13 million in outside money has been spent here on the Tenny Brindisi race. And there's much more coming between now and Tuesday.
Well, yeah, I would say.
And the candidates themselves have, what was the number? The money they have spent is just maybe about $7 million between the two of them, somewhere in that vicinity. But all that other money that has been flowing into this district, which most of it goes to TV. I mean, the TV stations are making a killing.
Yeah.
It's really just, it's crazy. They're saying more than $4.7 billion has been spent by candidates, political parties, and PACs during the 2 weeks before the election nationwide. $4.7 billion on advertising. That breaks a previous record of $4.2 billion for a midterm election. It is really a lot of money being spent. I mean, it's just crazy. And that's why you're seeing commercial after commercial after commercial. They really kind of feel like they're able to make a difference. I guess there's a couple of goals. It's, and energize your base, get them out, get the vote out. That's key. If your vote doesn't come out, just ask Hillary. You don't win. And the other part is anyone trying to take the people in the middle and sway them? Are any of these commercials trying to accomplish that? I'm not sure.
No, because then it impacts the base. Anything that would sway from that check all boxes policy.
You can't. The chances are people in the middle are more open-minded to working on both sides of the aisle. Maybe. I don't know. So they just get lost in the shuffle. Birthdays for today, Wednesday, October 31st. It's Halloween. Pauline Polinsky of New York Mills, 80. I just want to talk about this.
I double-checked these today, by the way.
About 2 months ago. Maybe it was a month and a half ago. Andrew handed me a birthday, and the way this normally works is I don't look at it until I go right on. I go right on the air with it. And Andrew handed me a birthday, and I began to read it and started looking at it, and I'm like, "There's no way this is a real name."
And I was suspicious too. I don't know why I even put it on there.
Really, I'd like to say the name, but it's bad. I can't say the name on the radio.
You can't even imply it. I know.
Unless we're on satellite, where Stern gets to say whatever he wants. But I just want a little bit in. So, long story short, yesterday on the Howard Stern show, we were a part of their. We got out these stupid radio people, and we got them to say dirty names with giving fake names during birthdays, and ours ended up in there.
And in our defense, it was
our defense.
Audio.
You have no defense, you piece of garbage. Okay,
it was edited.
Totally
it was
edited, by the way. I saw it. I knew. So it's like, you'd take two names, but the way they spell it was, like, I'm suspicious of everybody. I'm sorry, Paul Brillhart, I'm not going to read your name because I don't trust it. Is there some hidden swear word in there?
Jeff told me before I put any name on that paper that I'm to read them out loud. So I must have
read them out loud, read them quickly. But when I read the name, I read it very slowly, and I put a big pause in between because I knew what was going on, and I'm like, well, what if this guy's name is really real? I can't find out right now because I'm live on the air, so I just read the name. They went back in and edited it together as if I just read it and didn't even realize those pieces of garbage.
And they took away the Florentine pastry shop plug.
Yeah, they called it, they said, and you get the K, and so-and-so, blank hole, something like that. You'd combine it into a name, and when you say it quickly, it would sound like you're saying it. Well, they edited the whole thing together, so it made it sound like I did. I didn't, just for the record. And then I took a picture of it, and I said, "Don't ever let this happen again, you idiot, Andrew."
The former producer.
This stuff could end up coming back to haunt us. And then a month and a half later, I'm on the stupid Stern show being made a fool of, Andrew.
Somebody tweeted it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? We had no birthdays today. I know both people that had birthdays 2 months ago, yeah.
So the funny thing is not only did we do it that way, we hit it belated the next day and the following Monday.
It was one of those weekend birthdays.
So, yeah, really nice, Andrew. That's so yesterday I tweeted out, I'm like, hey,
touche. Well played.
Good publicity. Good publicity for us.
Played.
My former producer, Andrew, thanks you as well. He's no longer with us.
I'm in Megyn Kelly status right
Coming
now.
Up, we're gonna talk about the No Hospital downtown and one of the candidates in the race. And what I think we have uncovered, Manaski says, you think this is huge.
I do. I think it's really big.
I think there's been some deceit and some conflict of interest going on here in this race for the assembly seat. and the tie to no hospital downtown. And I'll explain what that is after we do our free money question. Coming up. Birthdays for today. These are real people. Pauline Polinsky of New York Mills is 82 years old. If you have a weird name, sorry, we're not reading it.
No birthday for you.
I feel bad for you, but I'm sorry. You don't have a shot. Pauline Polinsky, New York Mills, 82. And Paul Brillhart of Utica is 77 years old today. Paul and Pauline, happy birthday. Pauline Polinsky takes the cake from the Florentine Pastry Shop on Bleecker Street in downtown Utica. Coming up, Hobica's free money question. We'll do it next on WIBX. Let's see. One of the commercials I just heard, healthcare professionals, all healthcare professionals agree the hospital should not go downtown. Even commercials, like even 3 out of 4 dentists. They can only get 3 out of 4 dentists that agree on any one thing, right?
Yes.
3 out of 4 dentists think cavities are bad. Well, what's the other dentist think? The other dentist doesn't feel that way. He's like, I like cavities because guess what? Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Hello.
I've heard that actually that 4th dentist is compensated for being for cavities.
Could be.
Yeah.
All health professionals agree the hospital should not go downtown. When you hear stuff like that, red flag.
Yeah.
Right? That's a bit of a red flag.
Who was it that was taught? It was in their campaign. Every person at the door they spoke to, that they didn't speak to one person. Not even medical
single
professionals.
person.
Every
that
person
was
they spoke with was against the hospital.
Frederick
Nichols.
Yeah. Today is Wednesday, October 31st. It's Halloween. I have a little Halloween, one day only, in and out.
It's a scary question.
Halloween. I have a Halloween song we'll play coming up. Political. Rick and Clinton standing by right now. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
What do you like in sports?
I'm an NFL guy.
You're an NFL guy. Do you do any?
Yeah.
You watch any basketball?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
A lot of college hoop.
College.
Yeah,
oh, good for you. All right. $100 on the line right now. $100 on the line, Rick. $100 on the line. Here we go. A chance to win $100 from Hobica. You'll have 7 seconds. Make sure you get your answer in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
November 4th, 2009. The heavily favored Syracuse men's basketball team was stunned by which college? Ready, go. Siena. If it's Siena, it's $100 for you. Is it Siena?
Siena have football?
Buffalo.
Basketball.
Siena does have basketball. They've been in the tournament a couple times.
You said Buffalo? You wanted to get another answer in there? Buffalo?
Yeah.
Keep guessing. They play, actually, this team tonight. Andrew is a graduate of Lemoyne.
Oh, man. Yeah, bring this up again.
Remember that? That was 2009, 9 years ago.
I was even sitting in, so, we used to go to the preseason games, the exhibition games. You could get, like, upper deck seats and then walk down to where all the people that had season tickets didn't sit. So I remember we were, like, almost 2 or 3 rows back from the court side, and we could hear all the Lemoyne fans up in the upper echelon of the dome going nuts.
He goes to Lemoyne.
They're going crazy. I'm like, oh, my gosh, these people. And then, we get back to campus. And
it was a stunning upset. Division II, preseason, all that. Anyway, we'll give you a 72 Tavern and Grill gift certificate, $25 gift card. 72, of course, is at the Adirondack Bank Center. Great food, tuna tartare, the burgers. The loaded tater tots. Manaski got, what did you get the last time we were there? Something really good.
I got the pulled pork sandwich and a different time. The last time
Reuben?
it was a pulled pork Reuben.
Yeah.
And then this last time I went, I got the pulled pork quesadilla, which was even better, actually.
Okay, so there you go, Rick. You win. Right. You win for losing, man. There's nothing, you can't beat it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Right. It's the free money question of the day from Hobica and T-Ball. Everybody wins. All right. As I said, we have what I think is pretty interesting, pretty big. Last night, Manaski was at the debate between Bova and Button Sean. This is the seat currently held, if you've not been following along, currently held by Anthony Brindisi. And he, whether he wins or loses, Brindisi will be out of the assembly. One of these two will be your next assembly person. So Bova is, and Marianne's answer last night on the hospital is basically not overly committal. Would you agree? But if the hospital's going downtown, I support that, and I'll do everything I can to keep the funding pushing forward to put the hospital downtown.
Yeah.
She wasn't necessarily going out on a limb. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Whereas Bova is all in on being all out, 100%. The hospital should not go there. Now, on the Twitter page of No Hospital Downtown, you have a screenshot of that, Andrew?
Yes, so this was October 4th.
Read it to me. This is from earlier in the month.
So the tweet from No Hospital Downtown references a Rome Sentinel article, but it says the proposed Oneida County MVHS Health System Hospital in city of Utica was nothing more than a very ignorant political strategy. Now a medical professional speaks out. And it's a screenshot saying, they're saying the downtown hospital is cutting edge, but they're not buying one new piece of equipment, which is really the most important part, Bova says. We live in an area that is very heavily Medicare/Medicaid, so it's very important that we put every dollar we can into health care. What it's going to cost to level 6 blocks is a lot more than it would cost to clear away some trees at St. Luke's.
Okay.
Signed, D. Bova, MVHS, Surgical Tech, dated October 3rd, 2018.
So up to this point, we know that Dennis Bova is in the medical profession, and he's against the hospital going downtown. And everything that I've read has told us that he is from MVHS. In fact, the one that I printed out from the No Hospital Downtown Twitter page said, MVHS employee speaks out. Okay, and that's Dennis Bova. Here it says Dennis Bova, MVHS Surgical Tech. We discovered...
I have an article here from the Rome Sentinel, too, where they quote him as saying, I work for Mohawk Valley Health Services. I worked for every hospital in the area. These are two things you don't skip on.
And at press conferences.
What's the date on that?
October 3rd.
And at press conferences, as one of his endorsement by No Hospital Downtown, at that press conference, which I attended, he spoke with reference to people that he worked with, saying that, and again, he didn't in fairness, he didn't specify which coworkers, but he said, my coworkers are against this. Everybody that I talk to, that I work with, is against this.
Here's what we learned. According to what we have been able to uncover, Dennis Bova does not work for MVHS.
No.
And has not worked for MVHS, has not collected a paycheck from MVHS, at the very least in the last 5 years. Right. Now, he might have been an employee at one time.
He was.
Of
at
MVHS.
One time, he was, yes.
But he has
5 years.
But he has not been an employee of MVHS for the last 5 years. In fact, Dennis Bova, from what we have been told, works for Bassett. And I had a long conversation with a political person from the Valley who is livid over the hospital money that's going to MVHS because Bassett Hospital is expanding in the area. And the question is, for Bassett, why do they get all the money? Why are they moving this big, huge operation downtown? We're trying to invest. What about Bassett? So it would, to me, seem as if there's a bit of a conflict of interest that Bova, if he works for Bassett, the money does not benefit. It would compete against Bassett. I find that now, at the very least, did he say, I think it's worded very carefully. So, like, for instance, does it say worked for? Work.
I work.
Now, did the reporter maybe mess that up and misunderstand? And it's like one of those things where when someone makes a mistake.
Maybe.
Like this person makes a mistake and says, you know that Andrew owns River Hills Properties. And Andrew hears that and he's like, okay, I don't really, but I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. I'm
not going to correct them. If they want to believe that, let them believe it.
That cute blonde thinks I own the thing now, and she's going to think it for the rest of the night.
So, what's your take? Conflict of interest?
So I actually don't think it's a conflict of interest.
Well, part of the problem here is
he works. Wait a minute. If he works for Bassett, Bassett doesn't receive any of this money. A new downtown hospital would vigorously compete with Bassett, who's trying to make inroads into this market. To me, that's a conflict, a bit of a conflict of interest.
He's still allowed as an employee, and he's running for public office. He's still allowed to have an opinion. Now, I would say
I'm not saying the opinion. He doesn't not allowed to have an opinion, and I'm not saying he should be excused because he has a conflict of interest. But your interests are for the benefit would be that Bassett expand, not MVHS, and the very fact that he has not disclosed that, to me, is the inappropriate part. Not that he shouldn't be able to have an opinion, but just tell us, hey, I work for Bassett.
Yeah,
I don't think
agree
this
with
thing
you
should
there.
be happening. That's all I'm saying.
In my mind, the conflict would come in if he's voting on something that would give money to Bassett, for instance.
I get it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is he has a conflict. If he's coming out against it, it would benefit him if it didn't go to MVHS, but it went to somewhere else, like Bassett. Or if MVHS didn't expand in Utica, it would allow for Bassett to expand even more. That's all I'm saying. But to not correct people, not correct written stories in the OD or in the Rome Sentinel that call him an employee of MVHS, he is completely misrepresenting himself or allowing others to do so. And I find that highly inappropriate.
Well, you know what, though?
But also
read what you have where he signs it. You're saying he signed something.
There is a mark on it that says hyphen
Dennis
D.
Bova,
comma
MVHS surgical tech. And the header, the one that I have a clip of that doesn't show it here, says MVHS employee speaks out against the hospital. So I'm sorry. Now, I would hope Dennis would call and defend himself and say, no, wait a minute. They're lying. I do work at MVHS. Or the reporter at the Sentinel got it wrong. I said I worked at MVHS. I didn't say I work there. But here it clearly says that he does. And I have a screenshot. It looks like this is different than what I had last night. I have a screenshot that says it says that MVHS employee speaks out. And then there's Dennis Bova speaking out. He's against the downtown hospital. And all the people that he talks to, all of his coworkers, are against it. Well, it would make sense if his coworkers at Bassett were against it. They won't be working there. Sue in Utica is on the line right now. Good morning, Sue.
Well, Bill, thank you for this October surprise. My. We have a little conflict of interest going on. Just as I thought with that whole sham of no hospital downtown. I don't know what you want to group.
Sue, you work in the medical field. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you agree with me that if he, and knowing what it's like, I mean, everybody, so you have Slocum, you have Bassett, you have MVHS, all these different organizations that are out and competing for our business. So would you agree with me that if Dennis Bova worked for Bassett, he would not be enthused for all of this money to be going in with a big investment into MVHS?
Oh, I totally agree. And another thing, it's funny that my husband and I were discussing this yesterday, and he says, there's got to be money behind this no hospital downtown. And we thought it was coming from Syracuse for some reason. I don't know why.
Right, St. Joe's or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. For this, because look at all the ads, the competition out there. Go to Syracuse for this. Go to Syracuse for that. There's just so many things. And there's a lot of money being pumped into this, and we thought it was Syracuse. But now this makes a lot more sense.
I don't want to imply.
So hold on. Dennis
Bova
Bova's replying to me.
I don't want.
He says Oneida Healthcare is where he's employed.
He's working at Oneida Healthcare. But he's not employed at MVHS. Can you ask him how?
I said, Dennis, are you listening? Are you an MVHS employee?
Dennis has got to call. He's got to call in. He's got to call in.
Because, and this is where I had got a little bit concerned.
Sue
is that
has
press
the
conference.
guts to call in. Sue, you have some guts on you. You call in
by saying that you talk with the.
You don't hold back.
You talk with other professionals that you work with, and you're by implying you're in part of the process. Like Dr. Blankenfleur yesterday said, he was in there going over the scenarios. They talked to NBBJ in the design of the building. They really took into account employee, nurses, and doctors' feedback on the actual real size of the rooms. They mocked up rooms and what they were going to look like to scale, and they were working on it and really taking from the employees. And to say that you were in that environment when you weren't, it's just misleading a little bit.
And I want to be very clear. Any comments on Bassett? Sue, you're implying that maybe Bassett was pumping money into this. That is not true. It is not our implication whatsoever.
Information on that.
All we're saying is if you work for a competing outfit, whether it's Bassett or Oneida Health Services, then you would have a bit of a conflict there because you would rather not see an expansion of MVHS because it would possibly cut into your company.
Oh, I totally agree. Before the fight always was between Saxton, St. E's, and St. Luke's. now that there's this merger, the fight's coming from outside the area.
Yeah. And it might be out of Syracuse. It might be. And the political person that I spoke to is a politician from the Valley. So saying, why are they putting all the money there? They should put it into Bassett. Bassett is investing here. So that comes from there.
One thing I want to say is Dr. Blankerford, what a pleasure it was to hear him speak.
He was good.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure it was to hear about the new modern equipment that we have here in this area. The Regional Cancer Center has a phenomenal new radiation tool called the Edge. It's like surgery without the knife.
Mm-hmm.
I've had experience with that, and we do have some of the best equipment here, and people don't have to go outside. But to fight a hospital where everything could be under one roof and just move forward, it's like what did he call it? A boon, economic engine.
An economic boon. Yeah.
Yeah, for this area, and
right.
There's got to be an outside force that's fighting this. That's got some money. That's all I can say.
Sue, thank you. I appreciate it. And you have a wonderful day, Sue in Sue in Utica.
Stay dry.
Okay, stay dry. Listen, Dennis Bova's listening right now. He's texting into Manaski.
I'm trying to get him to call into the show to make this
315-736-0186. If you do not call in, we'll do it after the news. People are going to look very negatively upon you because apparently you don't want to defend yourself. Let's do it. All right, update on Dennis Bova. Just moments ago, we were able to kind of narrow down that despite all of what we have been led to believe, he does not work for MVHS. He actually works for, we're told, a place in Oneida Healthcare.
Yeah.
He does not work for MVHS. There's a story in the Rome Sentinel that says he works for MVHS. There's a current Twitter page from No Hospital Downtown that calls him an MVHS surgical tech. Everything of this criticism, we've all believed, and I'll tell you how we found out about this. We've all believed that here's Dennis Bova, who works for MVHS, who's in the know, and he's against it going downtown. Never correcting us, never correcting anybody, although we wouldn't know because we can never get him on the radio. He doesn't. He doesn't work for MVHS. I can't believe that they're putting this stuff out on the No Hospital Downtown page. That he does. His campaign, putting it out, that he does when he doesn't.
He, and also the No Hospital Downtown group, putting out things that identify him as an MVHS employee.
That are not true.
So I asked him, I said, can you call into the show? He said, I'm sorry, I can't right now.
I can text you, but I can't call in.
I said, instead of texting, will you call? Can you call? Can you call now or before 8:45? He said, no, I'm sorry, I can't. And I never said I didn't want a new hospital. A majority of the constituents want a new hospital. It seems like he's making the point that he's not against a new hospital. He's against it going downtown.
I get to argue with you. I don't get to argue with him.
Sorry, no.
There's no debate with him. You got to be his representative.
I just want to make sure
through text messages.
I just want to make sure we're accurately presenting information. That's all. I'm not going to advocate or debate anything here.
He doesn't want it downtown. Everyone is saying that it is not going anywhere if it doesn't go downtown. Here's the fact that I think we're missing. Dennis Bova, as your county, as your legislator, as your assemblyman, will not be able to move the hospital plan to St. Luke's. He's living in a fantasy world. And I'll tell you part of the reason why. It has nothing to do with government. MVHS has spent so much money already. What we have been told is that if this falls through, it would be economically impossible for them to redo the whole project and move it over to St. Luke's or anywhere else. That's what we've been told, right? Is that what we've been told?
No hospital if it's not downtown.
If it's not here, it's not going to happen. It has nothing to do with the assembly. So ultimately, if you're not for it downtown, you're going to stop the project downtown, you're going to stop the project. That's what we're being told. Now, you can say they're lying to you. The MVHS is lying to you. The Assembly, Brindisi, they're all lying to you because they're lining their pockets. That's what he's implied. But here we have ultimately two candidates that are unwilling to come on the radio, which is mind-blowing to me. I can't even believe it. But in this case, Bova has been caught in a bit of a, maybe it's not a lie. Maybe he's not the one doing the lying, but he's caught allowing other people to misrepresent him, and he's not correcting it. Is that what we want in the assembly?
If people believe that you have information that you would be privy to because of your status of employment somewhere, and you're making claims about things like what equipment's being purchased and design plans and stuff like that, and you don't have knowledge of that, or you're not privy to knowledge, then that's misrepresentative.
Up until this point, I've thought, well, this guy works at MVHS, and this started, I'll tell you how this started, is I asked Andrew, how in the world is he getting away with really bashing this whole thing publicly, and he works there? And your answer was, I don't know.
I don't know. And
I'll ask that question, and then they said, well, he doesn't work here. What do you mean he doesn't work here? He works at MVHS. You could have blown me over with a feather. No, he doesn't. He hasn't worked here in 5 years. Are you kidding me? Because we've all been led to believe that he does. Just look at the No Hospital Downtown Twitter page. Doug in Rome, I'll give you the final word on this, and I'm moving on.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Doug.
Just a little food for thought here. According to Mary Ann Buttonshawn's bios, she was a board member of the Institutional Research Board at Faxon St. Luke's. So if that's not a conflict, I don't know what is.
Did she lie about it, Doug?
Well, you're saying that.
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you. Did she misrepresent herself? Did she tell people she was working somewhere else?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Well, there we go. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Doug. Got a break. We'll come back at WIBX.
I'd love if he would call in to get a clarification.
This is what we're dealing with.
Is No Hospital Downtown playing fast and loose, or
are you?
Yeah.
Who's distorting the truth, Dennis Bova? Is it you, or is it the No Hospital Downtown group? Are they kind of taking half the information and exploiting it? And is that reporter from the Rome Sentinel, did that reporter misquote you? Because that's all you got to do is say, I did not say that I work for MVHS. I said I worked.
And I believe the article.
I worked for MVHS. So, but we can't find that out if you don't have the chutzpah.
You know who wrote the article? Go ahead, tell him.
Yeah, Ron Klopfenstein. So
Ron,
it was one of his columns.
Ron, is this something that you possibly made a mistake on?
You got to get Ron on. Call him right now.
I'll message him, yeah.
All calling out to Westmoreland. Ron Klopfenstein.
There's a big W in the sky right now.
We're gonna. I'm just telling you though.
Oh, Westmoreland. Yeah.
How about this whole? I'm not willing to come on the air to face the music. And Doug, I get it. You probably don't support Buttonshawn, but listen, Doug, we've been completely. He's completely allowed or has misrepresented himself or allowed himself to be misrepresented because it would benefit his argument about the hospital going downtown. I'm sorry. How else are we supposed to perceive that? I got a break, 8:15 at WIBX. Jeff in Utica on the line right now in the hospital. Hi, Jeff. You're on the radio.
Hi, how are you this morning?
Wonderful.
Well, I just wanted to call and say one thing that, everybody says special interest groups and everything else. Mohawk Valley Health System is a special interest group. If people ask for the site, downtown sites, the site review, and what happens is that Bob Schofield gets up there and says it's a private thing and we don't have to disclose it. To me, that turns it into a special interest group.
All right.
I understand we cannot vote on the hospital. I understand that 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that we can vote on the parking garage.
Well,
so
I think
the referendum.
I do think you're not going to have the opportunity, but you're saying you feel you should have the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
As a longtime resident of Utica and Oneida County, I should be able to pick where my taxes go.
Yeah. Back to the Bova thing. You think I'm being unfair that he has represented himself or allowed others to represent himself as an MVHS employee, and now we find out he doesn't really work there? Do you think that's not relevant?
No, I think it's relevant.
And by the way, I'm not in the can or the tank. Where would I be? Would I be in the can or the tank?
I've been listening to you for every morning on my way to work, and this is for about a year and a half now, since all this kind of really started.
Okay, and you know I'm
and your biases really kind of show through sometimes.
Well, listen. Let me say this: you're never going to wonder, Jeff, who I like and don't like.
It must kill you to have Rush Limbaugh come on after you.
Why do you say that?
Well, because it's very evident that you're very.
I'm a liberal commie. Is that what you think? Listen to me. I'll just tell you this. I'm for the hospital going downtown. I'm for it, and there's nothing wrong with me saying that. And if somebody can present an argument that stops the project, well, it's going to stop the project. But at this point,
well, we're not allowed to the information that would be able to prove that point.
Well, believe me, you got a group out there that's really trying.
If you're hiding something and you can't allow private citizens who are actually going to be paying for this the opportunity to see like the site plans and everything else, and they have to hide it, they're just another special interest.
Well, I don't think they can have a site plan until the seeker process is complete. Not everything can be done until the seeker process is done.
Every phase of the design process where it's been completed and they can go forward and release it, they have.
They release
just
it.
had the
That's
presentation
the thing. I don't think
of
there's
the
any
exterior design.
Jeff,
these things take time and steps, and there's protocol and procedure.
I don't think there's any big secret conspiracy going on here. I think by the end of the year, you're going to see a lot more once the seeker process is done. But listen, but beyond, I don't want to argue the hospital, Jeff. What I want to say is this. I don't care. I do care.
Yeah, we know you don't care.
Okay, I do care. I do care whether Bova or Buttonshaw, which one gets elected. I do care because I think it's important for the region. I think that if I were to be voting, I'd be voting for Buttonshaw. I wouldn't be voting for Bova. And I just think she's more qualified. But at the end of the day, neither one will come on this show. Neither one seems to like me, Jeff. And so it's not like I'm in the tank for Marianne Buttonshaw. But I'm just saying, if I were to assess it based on the way they have carried themselves, I would support her. That's all I'm saying. And you can vote any way you want. I'm not trying to coerce you, argue with you. You should be voting for somebody else. I'm just saying, can you vote for either one of them or either one in your district?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And I'm assuming you won't be voting for Marianne Buttonshaw?
That's not a good assumption.
Okay, all right. So you haven't decided yet. But all I'm saying is I'm just giving my take on it, and I guess that's how much more transparent can I be? I'm telling you, this is how I feel. So when you say you're I can see you, I can see right through you.
Yeah, but
I'm showing you right through me. I'm showing you this is how I feel. I'm not hedging my bets here at all.
But I thought you were First News, so you comment, you do the news.
No, Bill does not do the news.
I don't.
Bill does not do the news. If you listen to the show every day,
do the news.
No news for you.
You listen to the show, and let me go back because I was thinking about this the other day. Hold on, Jeff. Just listen for a second. Don't hang up. For a long time, the morning program at WIBX was called the Mohawk Valley's First News with Jim Rondinelli, and there were several other people who co-hosted the Mohawk Valley's First News with Jim Rondinelli. When we brought Bill on, we called it First News with Keeler in the morning. Okay, Bill is not an anchor. He's not a reporter. Bill does not come on and say, as Andrew does, top of the hour updates. Bill comments on things. If you listen every day, I don't know how you don't understand that.
Jeff, can I ask you, you do know that Rush
is not a newsman either.
Is all opinion.
He calls himself America's anchorman, and I love Rush. But he's not a news guy. You know that, right?
I don't listen to him.
Oh, all right. Well, Kilmeade. Kilmeade afterwards. Kilmeade is all opinion. They're all opinion, and that's what I do. And when I say I'm giving my opinion, I don't ever misrepresent it as being I'm giving you a fact. If I'm giving you a fact like, well, Bova's been misrepresenting himself or allowing others to do so, that's a fact. But most of what I do is my opinion. So I hope that if you've listened for a year and a half, are you one of those that has listened for a year and a half because you hate me so much?
No.
Okay, cool.
That's like 80% of the audience.
Because I make a living off that, by the way.
No, hate's a strong word. I don't hate anybody.
You're right. All right. Can we agree to disagree, Jeff, and
absolutely,
and move forward? And what do you do for a living, by the way?
I'm a healthcare provider.
You are? Okay. Well,
you don't work with Dennis Bowman, do you?
Thank you for being so transparent, Jeff. I do appreciate that.
Have a good day.
Thank you for ending on a positive note. You have a wonderful day. All right.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Jeff.
You couldn't have scripted that any better.
That is awesome.
Good transition, Buck.
I'm going to do a quick break and then put a transition in between Paul Buckley and his Plug Fest, and we'll come right back here at WIBX. Tim is in New Hartford on the phone line. I'm going to get you in a second, Tim. If you got to hang, if you could, please. I want to bring in Mr. Paul Buckley. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, William. That was brilliant.
Good morning.
That was absolutely brilliant. It's another sign that you've got way too much time on your hands. But it was brilliant.
That's what my wife says.
You're a genius.
Yeah.
You are. It's unbelievable. It was very, very good.
It
was very, very good.
You have to kiss up in order to get on the air.
I'm not sucking up. I just call it like I see it. And that was wonderful.
What do you have coming up here? This is a big movie deal.
I want to introduce Daniel
Solinger. Good morning, Daniel.
Daniel's from L.A., and he's got a little indie going on, and you don't want to listen to me. Listen to Dan. It's all yours.
What is your? What are you going to be doing here? You're filming in Utica. What brought you to Utica?
Well, we're filming a feature film here in Utica, and just the quality of the town. Just it works, you know. So we wanted to shoot in New York, and this was the place.
Well, this is the place. Certainly, it's the least expensive place to shoot.
That is definitely an advantage.
Yeah. We do have. There's a cost of living aspect and there's cost of living and there's cost of living while making a movie. And I believe
there's also
both
the
are
fact
beneficial.
that get things done here. Things get done here.
And that's you bragging about yourself.
That's me.
Yeah. Tell me about the movie, what you're going to do, and when you're going to film, and what you're going to need, and all of that stuff.
Well, we'll be shooting from mid-November through up until almost Christmas. We need a lot of local support. Anybody can help us. We'd be glad to have the help. We need extras, background. We need people to help in the art department, the camera department. We need some makeup and hair people, wardrobe people. We're looking for a caterer. If there's any medics in the area, we'll be doing some stunt work.
Dennis Bova.
Line 2 and 3, yeah.
Yeah, we have many of them. Big town for medicine here.
Oh, great. So
arguments, medicinal arguments.
Hopefully we won't need them, but it'd be nice to have them on standby just in case. Yeah.
Are these paid positions, or are you looking for people to volunteer?
These are paid positions,
okay.
Yes.
You got room for any stars? Are you looking for any stars?
Yes, we are. So if you want to act in the movie, we are trying to cast local speaking roles.
Okay.
So please feel free, if you have that talent, to reach out to us.
We can all speak.
Here comes Bill. Bill from Little Falls.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom from Little Falls. Yeah.
Okay, Tom. Sorry.
Are there any characters, character types that you're looking for?
Well, we need a doctor. We need
someone to play a doctor.
Someone to play a doctor.
Welby
Exactly. We need some goons.
Goons. You come to the right town.
Some goons. We need goons. We need riffraff. We need.
You're right at home here.
Ne'er-do-wells.
The line's going to be out the door.
This is called the R&C office.
Wow, have you hit pay dirt right here?
You asked why I was shooting in Utica, right? No.
All right.
We love it here. But
what's the movie about?
Well, it's a revenge thriller. So there's some.
Nice.
I can't go into too much details. Yeah. It's somebody. There's definitely payback involved.
Okay. How do people reach out to you?
Well, we have a website, uticafilm18@gmail.com.
Okay.
Please send any interest in the things I mentioned, particularly being an extra or like I said, art department, camera, makeup, or wardrobe. We're also looking for medic and catering. If there's caterers out there, we'd love to hear from you. And put in the subject line what your
expertise is.
About.
What you're
Yes,
for,
exactly. What you want to work on.
Will this be shot on film?
Well, we'll be shooting using the Airflex Alexa camera, which is a digital camera, but it's film quality.
Okay, really cool.
So, and what other projects have you worked on?
I've done about 65 movies. I started out with a hip hop documentary called Rhyme and Reason that you can probably watch on Netflix. My latest, I
think I saw that.
I do a lot of horror films, so I did a movie called L.A. Slasher. I did a movie called Girls Against Boys. The director I'm working with on this particular project, his name's Paul Solet. We did a movie called Dark Summer. You can probably watch on streaming somewhere.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And then is that the plan? Does it go to like an indie film festival, or does it go to Netflix?
That's usual. It's with independent films, what you do is you make the movie and then you sell it, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, with studio films, they give you the money to make the movie, but with independent films, you have to make it, and then you take it to film festivals and you sell it there.
All right, fair enough. And the one thing you do have is Paul, and
absolutely,
and
he's been a big help.
He really will. I mean, you do everything. You need a house. You need a house. You're out there. You find a house for him.
I'll come clean your house. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, all those positions I mentioned, Paul said he would do all of them.
He would do all of them. Yes, he would. Yeah, he absolutely would.
I'll
really.
Character. But listen, also, anybody who's listening from the hotels, they want to move to Utica. They're right now. They're somewhere outside of Utica. I think it's somewhere in Casanova. They want to get closer to Utica. So, hotel-ours, whatever you want to call it, not restaurant-tours, but hotel-ours, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Whatever.
Hotel people.
Let's go. Give us your best deal.
They stopped taking your calls.
So you're looking for a long-term, something to be a month long.
They're probably going to be you're going to be a month at least.
A month and a half. Yeah.
All right. Okay, really cool. Well,
and there are a lot of paying gigs.
You pay. If the best way again to reach out is go to the website, or you could even contact you at City Hall, right? If you know Paul, reach out because you can help from. Places to shoot, I'm assuming you need as well?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good with locations.
Okay.
Paul's been very helpful with that. And, we need a caterer. We need a medic. We need, definitely if you work in the camera, makeup, or wardrobe department, and extras and actors.
The medic you need is not to play a medic, is to be a medic.
To be on standby just in case something happens that we need immediate assistance with.
Okay, so this is a real production. Very nice.
Probably get that from the UFD.
Okay, that's a good place to go.
Paramedics, whatever.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, and I appreciate it. Daniel Sullinger, we welcome you to town.
All right, happy to be here.
Cool.
Well, thank you for squeezing us in amidst this political.
Any time, Paul, for you.
You're too sweet.
We'll take Ryan Nobles in a second. Tim has a problem in New Hartford. I want to talk to him, too. Stand by, Tim. It's right after this at WIBX. I want to squeeze you in before we go to Ryan Nobles. Hello, Tim in New Hartford.
Hi, good morning, Bill.
What's going on?
Well, I was raking leaves last night after I got out of work, and I lost my wedding band.
Oh.
Somewhere in the front lawn or the back lawn.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping one of your listeners would have a metal detector for me to buy or rent, because you can't get one anywhere around here.
That's funny because
everywhere. Since rent them or sells them anymore.
Since Radio Shack left, you can't find a metal detector.
I know. I miss them guys.
Tim literally was like, I had to take the day off. I have to find this ring.
Oh, yeah. And you
got
to find
big trouble.
I had a bang it, so hopefully my boss ain't listening.
You gotta find it now before
Jeff.
the more leaves fall, right?
Tell me about it. It's so hard now. A lot of leaves falling. It's supposed to rain later, so I've been pulling what's left of my hair out looking for it. We looked last night till midnight. I'm getting like tunnel vision.
Oh, boy. Okay, Tim. And you're located in New Hartford, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get your information.
Sit tight. Andrew's going to get your information, and we'll do what we can do to help. So if somebody, please, has a metal detector, call in, and this guy needs your help. And he'd use it or rent it from you, or maybe you could do it for him. 315-736-0186 is our phone number. Ryan, do you have a metal detector?
I don't, but I feel for a hot minute there that I was transported into Mohawk Valley Swap Shop on Wednesday morning.
Good morning. You're calling number 3 on Swap Shop.
How many Stern references can we get in one morning here? Go ahead.
That is, by the way.
Jim Zecca chiming in here.
No
October surprise. It's just a Halloween joke.
Jim, listen. Ryan, hold on for a second. Okay. Jim, he has been misrepresented by the Mo Hospital Downtown Group. I have proof right here. And in a story that was done in the Rome Sentinel, calling him an MVHS employee. He never corrected it. In the No Hospital Downtown, dated October 4th, he's calling himself an MVHS surgical tech here. That is deceptive, man. How do you not see that, Jim? You're so critical of everything you don't agree with. How can you not be critical when somebody messes up? This is just stupid to misrepresent yourself this way. Jim, look in the mirror. Okay, hi, Ryan.
Hi. It's great to hear from you. How's everybody in Utica?
Everything's wonderful.
Are you ready for the election to be over?
We are this race, the 22nd, and there are several competitive races in the state, but the 22nd is the seventh most expensive congressional race or race in general in the United States. I believe it's the congressional. Seventh in the U.S. and first in New York State.
And what you have to take into account in that is that, in terms of the cost of media buys in the Mohawk Valley, it's actually pretty affordable.
Yeah, you're right when you think about that.
If you adjusted it for, a cost hike for some, like for instance, one of the most expensive races, I don't know if it's the most expensive race, but a race near me here in Northern Virginia, the Barbara Comstock race of Virginia's 10th, they have to buy media in the Washington, D.C. market in order to capture viewers in that area. I mean,
what would you say
incredibly expensive.
A 30-second spot in D.C. in the 6 o'clock news costs?
I'm so far removed from
that.
That's
got to be that's got to be up there in the thousands.
I would think it would be in the thousands would be my guess.
And
I don't
here,
know
here, by the way, it gets tighter. The rates go up, but on average, you'd be able to pick up a spot for $300 on KTV at 6 o'clock.
And the
so
other thing
think
too about that,
that,
keep in mind that if Anthony Brindisi buys an ad on WKTV, that's going to pretty much carry 75% of the viewing audience of that district. If Barbara Comstock buys an ad in Washington, D.C., it showers the District of Columbia, all parts of Northern Virginia that aren't in her district, and a whole swath of Maryland that have nothing to do with her. So, it's not only is it way more expensive, but it's not nearly as efficient as it would be for one of the candidates in the 22nd.
Well, I got to tell you, this is a challenging district, too, because remember, it starts out in Oswego and makes its way to our way and then goes all the way down to Binghamton. So you really have to buy Syracuse, Binghamton, Utica, and cable to fill in between. So this is a bit of a challenge, too, I think, but probably not anything like
D.C. I would guess,
D.C.
one spot in Washington, D.C. probably akin to buying a spot in every one of those markets.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Probably around the same cost,
All right, there's so much to talk about here. You tell me what you want. You want to get into Pittsburgh yesterday? The president in Pittsburgh?
I think that, there's an overarching conversation to be had right now about just how the president is conducting himself in the closing days of this campaign. And make no mistake about it, every move the president has made from, at this juncture has been all with an eye toward the campaign. And the president's made a decision that the best way for Republicans to win is for him to run the same style campaign he ran for president. And why wouldn't he think that, right? It's been successful for him. So that means a very nationalistic campaign talking about the migrants on the border who are about 1,000 miles away and are going to be nowhere near the southern border by Election Day.
Yep.
It means about talking about things like changing the laws for transgender Americans. It means that he's talking about getting rid of birthright citizenship.
Oh, I'm losing you. But you're right. I mean, this is he's brought back all the old hits. And did I lose you, Ryan?
No, I hit the mute button on my phone.
He's bringing all the oldie goldies back.
Right, and the other thing I think it's important to point out about this is that most of these policy proposals more than likely don't have any shot of seeing the light of day. Like, for instance, most legal scholars believe that ending birthright citizenship would be ending a constitutional right, which you can't really do with an executive order. So it's more about just exciting his base, getting them fired up to go out and vote in places where maybe because his name is not specifically on the ballot, they wouldn't be as motivated. And what he's trying to do is say, hey, listen, these are all the things you care about. These are the things I care about. You got to vote for the people that I support.
Yeah.
If you want to continue those kind of policies. Now, the question is that going to work? Are the districts gerrymandered enough to help push them over the finish line? I think that's what we still don't know the answer to.
I just have to tell you that I thought that his description of the stock market was what did he say about the stock market? That it's because obviously the stock market has tanked in the last couple of weeks, but he had a reason for it that I thought was unbelievable, and people are buying it. They buy what he says.
Well, it's a perfect example of how he changes the narrative and the facts to apply to whatever scenario makes him look the best.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's the stock market, whether it's the economy at large, whether for instance. He consistently says over and over again that his administration has passed more legislation in the early days of his presidency than any other president. Well, that's just simply not true. He's not signed nearly as many bills as, FDR did or several other presidents. But he continues to repeat that falsehood, and his supporters are inclined to believe it, and they're more inclined to believe it than they would an independent fact checker or the media, because he has so successfully undercut the viewpoint and the reputation of folks in the media, because he's basically just told his supporters, you can't trust anything they say.
Well, right now,
trust me.
You're lying. You're from CNN. You have to be lying. And when you bring up facts, and it's even more so that it's that I'm through all of this, and this does not help for midterms at all. This does not, in my opinion, help Republicans in the midterms. But the president calling himself the victim at the same time when bombs are being sent out, even though they didn't go off, but this horrific shooting. And what he's talking about is no one else has been such the victim of the media that this president is the victim. But I got to tell you, that's like saying two guys in a boxing match, and the guy who's, both of them bloodied up, and one is saying, I'm a victim. No, you got into the ring, you punched just as hard as the other guy, and they're reporting on it. I mean, finding him as taking the victim role, I do find that kind of hard to
and I think there's
also
believe. A broader point about that too, Bill, is that here you have people that were serious victims of an awful crime in Pittsburgh. You have, people's lives that were upended by these bomb threats. And the job of the president is to be the unifier, the protector, talk about ways to prevent this from happening in the future, do everything he can to provide aid and assistance to those impacted. But instead, he makes it all about himself.
Yeah.
So he seems to be way more concerned about the perception that perhaps he might have played some role in this situation, which, let me say for the record, and I do work for CNN, I don't think it's Donald Trump's 100% responsibility that some lunatic who's got a mental health problem sent a bomb or attempted to send a bomb to CNN. I don't think that's all the president's fault. But what I think has a lot of people disheartened is that the president of the United States' job is to take responsibility, not to advocate responsibility. And I think of Harry Truman. What did he have to sign on his desk that said the buck stops here? Ultimately, it's the president's job to take care of things like this and not try and just blame everyone else.
Right.
But that's not Donald Trump's tactic. He always finds a way to make it about himself, and that's what he's done in this situation.
I'll make one more point that makes people who are really supporting the president upset, and that is that, why didn't Obama get blamed for this mass shooting? And President Trump is being blamed. He's not being blamed. I realize there's some crazies out there that are probably blaming him, but ultimately, Obama carried himself completely in a different manner. And every other president we've ever had has carried themselves in a different manner. So that's all people are criticizing. But I'm looking at this from a Republican standpoint, trying to hold on to the House. And everything he says between now and Election Day can affect an upcoming election, especially because they're hanging their hat on the president right now.
Right. And I'll make 2 points in response to that. First, I remember covering that Charleston shooting that you're talking about at the church. And there were people on the right that were blaming Barack Obama for that. It's not as if he didn't receive some level of criticism. But the difference was he ignored it. It was a small few people that accused him of having some role in it. And as you point out very smartly, he just went to Charleston, gave a speech, hugged the victims, and tried to move on. Talked about policies that he hoped would change something like that from happening. So the idea that he had received no criticism at all is not true. The second point I'll make is
he sang Amazing Grace in front of a podium. That's not something you're going to see this president do. I get it, but that's why he wasn't criticized in the same way.
Right. And the second point I'll make about the president's role on election night, the one thing we have to keep very much in mind here is that Donald Trump is still an enormous asset in a huge chunk of these Republican districts that are gerrymandered in a big way. They're rich with his supporters. He has 10, 11-point advantages in those areas. So that's why he has to be out on the campaign trail, because he's got to help in those places. But to your point, there's a boomerang effect, because every time he's out on the trail, he's going to probably do 15 rallies between now and Election Day.
Yeah.
It doesn't just contain itself to that district or that state he particularly happens to be in. It resonates beyond. So if you're in a marginal district, and I think the 22nd is a marginal district where, you've got some hardcore Trump supporters, but there's a group of voters in the middle. And I think that the Utica district in particular has prided itself on that batch of moderate voters that elected Sherry Boehlert, that elected Richard Hanna.
Yeah.
They're also going to hear what Donald Trump is saying. And the question is, are there enough Trump supporters in a district like this to push her over the hump? I think that's the question you've got to answer.
I have so much more I want to say on this, but we're out of time, and I have to play political commercials. Ryan, thank you. There are many to play. Have a great day. We'll talk next week.
Next day after the election. It'll be fun.
That's right. Thanks, man.